Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of MuscleTech Uncensored. Awesome guest today. If you're on Instagram, you know him as Joshua Blaze. He is Joshua Manoi, United States Marine Corps veteran, actor, champion natural bodybuilder, and of course, MuscleTech star athlete. Please welcome Joshua Blaze. I'm sorry, Josh Manoi. Yeah, you see, I'm so used to calling people by their Instagram handles, and I know you're an actor, so I'm curious, is Blaze, is that your Hollywood, your stage name?
Blaze is not a specific nickname for any platform. It's just something I came up with because of my love for fire, and then I relate it to, since I watch so much anime, it has to do with something called the will of fire, which just stands for your undying ambition to do what needs to be done. And I threw that at the end of my first name, and my middle initial J stands for Jarrell, my middle name. So Joshua J. Blaze is the way it works. And then I threw an I in there really because a lot of people will think Blaze and be like, does he smoke? That's probably something related to smoking. I definitely don't do any of that. So that's how it came about. And it stuck.
No, it's a cool name. I mean, I would change my name to that if I could. It's too late now. So we actually did an interview for the MuscleTech website that was out in text form for a few months, but people don't read like they used to, so we're getting this podcast going, and I'm very happy to have you on as a guest. But I want to ask you some questions because you have a great story.
Thank you.
Looking at you now, you would never know that you didn't always look like this. That's not the case. Can you tell me how you got into weight training? How did it all begin?
It all began, I was basically a lot smaller. I was the one who came from being skinny and became muscular. And I got into fitness specifically because I was picked on quite a bit for being small. And I had the feeling of just being a pushover, not being taken seriously, being punked. And I had enough of that. So initially, when I began actually consistent weight training, fortunately for me, was in high school. There was a weightlifting class, not only a class which had so much equipment, fortunately, so much equipment and a great coach, a great teacher, who really broke it down for us, sets, reps, blah, 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 exactly what muscle groups, everything. He laid it out for us. And I had that class Monday to Friday. So I was consistent through the whole school year, from sophomore year to junior year into senior year. All 3 years I was in that class.
And that was not only Florida, right? You were in Florida?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Not only was I in the class, but I ended up joining the weightlifting team my junior year and senior year. So from junior year and senior year, I was doing multiple workouts a day. Wow. And I really fell in love with not only weight training, but weight training for the numbers, obviously. Competitive powerlifting, I was really given that atmosphere to grow. And training by the numbers is really how I began. That's where the love initially came from. Aside from wanting to get big because I was feeling like a little small fry.
Yep.
I think the powerlifting team really gave me that animal mentality. And so that I carry with me even still to this day. That's what keeps me fired up. And that came from the class back in high school.
There's only 2 states I know of, and somebody could correct me in the comments, that actually have like weightlifting, powerlifting in high school. Florida's one, Texas is another one.
Yes.
Like Ronnie Coleman was in the powerlifting team in his high school. Well, that was back in Louisiana. Sorry, close enough. But it's funny that you say by the numbers, because I think a lot of guys getting into it now, young guys, they don't want to do all the foundation movements, the bench, squat, deadlift, clean, and all the things that really build that strength foundation, which can carry you over into becoming a greater bodybuilder later.
Absolutely.
But almost every time I talk to someone that's got an awesome physique, they started out with very much the basics and the power lift, the 3 power lifts, to be more specific.
Not only that, but starting by the numbers really teaches you competitive powerlifting will obviously instill that technique and give you really an understanding of the importance of it. Because things like clean and jerks, things like bench press, deadlifts, if you don't have great technique, you're either going to injure yourself severely or you're simply not going to get the weight up. So being introduced to that first and then transitioning over into bodybuilding, now my tension, my range of motion, everything is like exquisite from the beginning. And then I continued to learn over the years. So like you said, I think that was an excellent start for me.
Yeah. Obviously you have great genetics, but I think reading through what we did with the last interview, something struck me is things occurred to you that would not have. You were 13 apparently when you started messing around with 5 and 10 pound dumbbells at home, and
Yes.
you read that triceps make up 2/3 of the arm, and your triceps are. I consider that like your best body part, honestly.
These
Crazy
days, yes,
triceps.
sir.
But 99.9% of kids starting out, all they do is curls. They're just thinking about the bicep. So for you to have that, that realization so early on, and that to make that distinction, that to me, that's exceptional right there. So
Thank you so much. I
smart
still
kid.
remember that day. I was on my, I think I was on my PSP or something where I had an internet service. I think I was playing with my PSP at the time. And I went online and I was just like, how do I get bigger arms? And then thankfully the knowledge was there on Google, which everything is. And then it showed me an article I read, 2/3 of the arm is the tricep. And I mean, I wasn't doing any kind of weight training at the time. So, I mean, it's not like I had already fallen in love with curls. It's just, I didn't know what to do. And the first thing I saw was do triceps, work tricep extensions, do close hand push-ups, anything I could. Like I said, my mother's dumbbells were probably 5-10 pounds, and that's all I had in the house. I didn't have a gym membership. I didn't have anything, no resources. So I did what I could.
Okay. So how quickly did you start noticing that your physique was taking on a different look from all the other kids around you who were in the gym and lifting weights just like you? And when did that turn into either you thinking or someone else telling you, hey, you really should compete?
I think if I could give a realistic time frame of when I started noticing a significant change, or at least noticing I had a different attribute or different attributes in my physique, I'd say 2 years in to actually consistent weight training. So maybe my junior year of high school. Actually, you know what? I'll say that for sure, because I really started feeling myself junior year of high school, because I remember when I would post some pictures on Instagram all the way back then.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's about the time when I was like, okay, aside from me picking up my numbers in strength, I'm starting to actually look good. My arms, like I had the separation. I was already skinny, so the conditioning was there. I was lean already, so I was noticing the muscle being put on immediately. And what was your next question? I'm sorry, Ron.
Oh, competing, because you actually told me last time. This is interesting. You were about to turn 20. You'd already enlisted in the Marines. You were going to be heading off to boot camp, Paris Island, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
So was it sort of I better hurry up and compete now before I'm 20? How did that, how did you find a show? Who prepped you? How did it all work?
The gym I was going to at the time is called Just Train. The owner of Just Train, his name's Alan. Shout out to him. He and I were pretty close. And like you said, this was about the time I was going to boot camp. I had already gone and talked to the recruiter. I was in the waiting program, waiting to be shipped out to boot camp. And I think it was a month and a half before that was going to happen. Still training at the gym, like basically every day, because I loved it. And up until this point, even in high school, before I graduated, people were telling me I looked good enough to compete. I just never paid it any mind, because I was just so in love with the weightlifting team at the time. That's all I cared about, was lifting and getting stronger. And then I graduated, was going to Just Train. Everyone would always tell me, "Oh, you look great. When's the show? You should compete. Have you ever competed?" There's always so many people who will like throw these thoughts in your head, and then it'll just go in one ear and out the other. But then there's always that one person who'll get to you, and you'll hear their words and it'll actually resonate with you. And that was Alan, the owner of the gym. And he told me, you should really do a show. You're about to go to boot camp. They have these junior shows, meaning under 20s, like still in your teens. Me knowing I was going to turn 20 in boot camp would mean I would never be able to do that. Right. Not only that, I'd go to boot camp and I'd be eating less meals. I'd be getting slayed, doing so much cardio. I'm going to lose weight. That's inevitably, that's going to happen. So I love the way I was looking at the time. I had nothing better to do. I mean, I was already training every day. Yeah. Alan specifically told me to look in the direction of 2 coaches he knew and trusted, which I did. And so I just took his word. I really just heard him for what he had to say. I was like, why not? I'm going to be 20. I'll never be able to do this again. So just take the shot. I linked up with Vicky and Brian Nixon, my coaches at the time, still cool with them to this day. They helped me with nutrition. They helped me with posing lessons in person. Training, they didn't need to. They decided not to, because they thought I had a good idea of what to do already, considering how I looked. And so I think the prep for my first show, Ron, I'm pretty sure it was a week. I am pretty sure I prepped a week out from the show. And I think it was multiple days that week where I was meeting up with them. I was in the posing room and in Just Train. They were sitting in front of me as if they were judges, and they were just watching me pose. And I didn't know a lot at the time. So they were teaching me the mandatory side chest, front double bicep, back double bicep. And those sessions were painful just because I didn't have the experience there. And it's a lot of holding the poses and things like that. So I was getting worked. But when I stepped on the stage, I did not only classic physique, because at the time that division was still brand new. I did classic physique and I did men's physique. 3 divisions in classic physique I did.
3 divisions? Oh yeah.
No, I did 3 in men's physique. So I did open, I did novice and teen.
Wow.
And then classic physique, I did open and novice. I took first place in all 3 men's physique and second place in both the classics. And then I won the overall physique trophy in men's physique. So I left my first show with 6 trophies.
Oof. Man, you must have been so sore from all that. That's a lot of posing for one day.
A lot of posing, a lot of running back and forth off and on stage. And I didn't know what to expect, but it was a great introduction to the sport. I trusted my coaches and I did what they told me. I looked excellent for that first show, but posing was not it. But the conditioning was great enough to win, thankfully. And I think that was the moment when I realized, obviously, that I could do something in the sport. With me being 19, barely even prepped, didn't know what I was doing, and I won the show. So that's when that first thought was planted in my head. Then after this, those trainers, Vicky and Brian, told me to do the show that was 3 weeks, or I think it was a month out. No, it was 2 or 3 weeks. I think it was 3. So they told me to do that one because I had placed so well at this one. They were like, why not? You just got nationally qualified. Go do this national show. See how you place. Cut forward, I did men's physique and classic physique in this national show. Just 1 division in each. And I got 3rd place in men's, 2nd place in classic, I believe. So very close to winning, but not quite. But that's when it really hit me. Nationals. So if you win a national show, you become a pro.
Right.
And I got 2nd place in 1 division and then 3rd in the other. Then a week later, I'm off to boot camp.
Oof, wow.
So those first 2 shows happened very quickly back to back, then straight to boot camp and basic training. Obviously, that took a lot of time to get through. And it took me, I think, about 4 years in between doing my 1st and 2nd show to the time where I did my 3rd show. I took a long break just because of things I had going on.
Yeah.
But I came back to it. I did 2 more shows in NPC. Did well, but I didn't get where I wanted to. Then I took my sights over to Musclemania, the Natural Federation.
Yep.
And I've done 2 shows in Musclemania. The first one I did was the America in Hollywood. And I won that one. That was a pro qualifier. So I became a pro at my first Musclemania show. Then I did my 2nd Musclemania show in Miami last year, which was awesome. I won that one as a pro. So that show was the universe. So now I'm Musclemania Mr. Universe.
That's their top title, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I was with that organization like 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago. Wow, it's been a long time. But he was just building up, to that level. At that time, it was all just starting. Let's talk for a second about the natural status, because every kid now, gosh, they all want to be on. I see like 13, 14-year-old kids posting, I need to get on some trend. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
But you obviously had that around you. I mean, there's always been that element. You competed in both tested and non-tested shows.
Yes, sir.
You had to make a decision at one point. What were the reasons for you to make the particular choices to remain drug-free?
Initially getting into training, I didn't have those temptations. I wasn't around people in that side of the sport, or at least not that I knew of. I didn't really know anything. So I wasn't really tempted. I just had the idea of what I wanted to do, which was to get big. I didn't know how to do it. All I knew is that training would help me build muscle. So I did that. Then as I came to, like, over the years of my fitness journey, I got around more people. I started to see things and hear things. But the progress that I had made was enough for me. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I didn't have a general idea. A lot of people, when they get into fitness, they have a certain look that they're going after. They see this person, I want to look like that. So automatically they're saying, oh, okay, I got to have these big muscles. I got to look exactly like that. I have to weigh that much. For me, I just wanted to be big. There wasn't, like, I didn't have any kind of vision. I just knew that I did not want to be small or feel this way anymore. So I think with me having that kind of viewpoint, it kept me on track. The progress that I was making at the time, I loved. I had the passion for it, and I didn't really need anything else. Competing has never been something that I wanted to take as a career. I compete because I love it, and it keeps me on my competitive edge, and it always brings the next level out of me.
Gotcha.
Even these days as a pro, I want to continue in the natural federation and just being a natural athlete because of the way the industry is these days. When I think of fitness and bodybuilding, the reality of it is any kind of PED or steroid, the reality of it is it's a drug. So when I think of fitness, I think of overall health. I don't think of drugs. That is not the first thing that you should think of. But in the world today, especially bodybuilding, it's hard to bring up bodybuilding and not have the initial thought of steroids, because that's just the way it is. That is what is overly saturated. That's what you see on social media. That's all you ever see. The natural side of it obviously doesn't have as much exposure, as much clout. We're not in the limelight.
Yeah.
So we're just kept under wraps. We're under the rug. But my goal is to bring some light to it and just inspire as many people as possible to stay, to just work with their genetics and then develop your own work ethic, figure out what you want and do what you can with what you're given. Ultimately, that's my push. That's my mission for my audience and for the world as I continue in my fitness journey.
Yeah, you make a good point. I think one of the worst aspects, social media is great, don't get me wrong, but one of the worst aspects as it applies to the bodybuilding culture is that, like I said, these young kids, they're on TikTok, they're on YouTube, they're on Instagram. They don't believe that it's possible to achieve anything naturally. And someone like yourself, I'm sure you have trolls just every day, the no-name trolls, liar, trend, mass, primo. They can't believe. Does it upset you, A, that they're calling you a liar, and B, that they have such very low expectations for what they're capable of achieving without PEDs?
I think I'm more so disappointed, Ron. I used to get mad, and it's still not a good feeling if you work hard for something and someone just tries to discredit you for anything. It's not a good feeling. Yeah. But over the years, I've become numb to it, or at least I've developed ways to cope with it, which is mainly either to ignore, to get a laugh out of it, because a lot of times it's amusing, the things people will say, or 3, I'll actually try to convince them otherwise. Because I think the disappointment in me, in the way the world views natural athletes, or at least what you're capable of naturally. Yeah. For me, it's come to the point of I'm trying to make you understand not only what you're capable of, but what is simply attainable without the use of outside resources. So I'm definitely hated on every single day. Every single day, I'm getting comments or DMs of that sort. Now, I think when it comes to the way it seems in the industry, with how everyone is presented this kind of content, especially social media wise, because I just saw something yesterday that made me think more about this. Okay. And it's the bigger guys in the industry, the ones with millions of followers who have a lot of clout. And then even if it's, I'm going to get to the point of it. So it's basically a comedy skit. And it was a guy taking some supplements, and it was showing a clip from a movie of a man, like an older man, staring at him. And so he was taking like more scoops of protein. He would look at the guy and the guy would shake his head. Another scoop of protein, he would look at him, he would shake his head. One more, he'd shake his head. And then he took the tub of protein away, and you see this little vial of whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then he looks back at the guy, and then he's like, it is funny, but that reel got over 1 million views.
Wow.
And that's the kind of stuff that's being pushed into everyone's face and shoved down everyone's throat. It's things like that, not hating on the guy, obviously.
Yeah.
It's what he does as a content creator, make your money.
Sure.
But that's why the industry has this kind of, like it's in this pool. It's fallen into the abyss like that.
I mean, the most popular influencers to these young kids, Sam Sulek, who never mentions PED, so I give him credit, a lot of credit for that. But then there's these Trend Twins. Their name is the Trend Twins. And then, I mean, I was at an event at a local Boston gym the other night for college kids, and they were all college age, 18, 21-year-old kids. I saw a kid with a shirt, "I love Trend." Like, wow. I mean, it's one thing to be wanting to use it in the first place, but to advertise proudly using, oh my goodness, and even looked like he was on, didn't look like it. Let's get off the drug stuff. It's getting me sad. So we talked a few months back last year, and another thing that struck me, for such a young guy, you just turned 27, you seem to have a real appreciation for the history of the sport. Some of the people that you said influence you, I would never have thought. Most guys your age, they're like, huh, who? If maybe Arnold, obviously, everyone knows Arnold, but you mentioned names like Sean Ray, Francis Benfato, Tom Platz, Eduardo Kawak, Jerry Pastel, Muhammad Makaway. I mean, I promise you, the vast majority of kids, even ones who compete your age, I call you kids because I'm 54, they have no idea. So how do you have that? How do you have that appreciation of the past like that?
Well, and no discredit to the newer bodybuilders. I find that the sport itself, and with the new division of classic being brought in, trying to bring back the old days of bodybuilding where the tight waists were crucial and very mandatory for an athlete to have. Not only that, but you still ideally wanted to look human. You still wanted to be functional and have flexibility and be able to pose with finesse and very artistic and majestic. All of those attributes are things that I want to have. So when I look into, like when I see videos or clips on social media of bodybuilders, I always migrate towards them from back then, because not only do I feel I have that kind of look, so not only is there that relating factor of I have this kind of physique that resembles that. Yep. So my eyes are automatically going to go to those old school bodybuilders, because I want to not only represent the sport in the light that it should be represented in, but they have something that I really want to have, which is just that masterpiece. When I think of the old school bodybuilders, it all comes together. Their physiques were truly not only distinct in their own individual way, which is something I think is lost today, because everyone's just so dense that they lose their shape and they just look big. Yeah. So I think the old school bodybuilders like Francis Benfato, I love specifically because his waist. Guys like Arnold, I love because aside from his physique, his attitude, his ego, that's come to think of it, believe it or not, his ego and his attitude is what I like most about him, aside from his physique. Guys like Thierry Pastel, I think they called him something related to his waist before the blade came along. I think Thierry was the initial blade. But there are a lot of different things specifically I'll take away from each individual athlete from back then. When I put together that list, that embodies not only my posing influence, how I carried myself in the gym. A lot of my work ethic comes from those guys, watching their videos, especially Tom Platz. Oh my God. Yeah. Everything about him is intense, and he's just so knowledgeable. I've learned a lot from those guys, more so than the guys today. And with respect to people like Breon. I've taken posing lessons from Breon. Breon's awesome. I just trained with him a few days ago. He was in Gold Venice. But yeah, a lot of the new guys are awesome too. I do take like from Chris Bumstead. Obviously, he looks incredible. Breon, I love his posing. Terrence, he's awesome as far as posing, and he has a very classic look. So there are the athletes of today who stand on a pedestal in my eyes as well. But if I had to choose a side, I'm going back to the old days.
You forgot to mention Ramondino. The Brazilian's going to be very upset. Ramon, the dinosaur. All right. So, he's damn good too.
Ramon is great.
Yeah.
His physique is incredible. His posing needs some work.
Yes, I agree. I mean, it's if Urs, Urs is a far superior poser. He just doesn't have, obviously Bumstead's another level from everybody at this point, but we'll see. It's a very interesting division to watch.
It is. It's fun.
I'm going to switch over to obstacles you've overcome, because everyone's had tiny little injuries, maybe a car accident here, but you had something happen to you on the night of September 12th, 2021. You told me about it last time. I'm going to make you repeat it because it was really a harrowing story. So can you tell us what happened that night?
I sure can, Ron. So I was in San Diego with a fellow Marine. His name is Tyler Valencia. Yeah. And we were capturing military content for 9/11. Wow. And so I was out there with him at his base, which was Miramar Marine Corps base. We were hanging out. We were training, just capturing some content. We went the whole day doing that. So we end up going back to his barracks later in the evening, and we're trying to just figure out what to do next. We didn't get everything we wanted that day, so we had come to the decision, I'm going to spend the night here. We're going to wake up tomorrow morning, get some more content. I'm going to head back to LA. So that was the move. Then we end up going out, I think, to a nearby bar. His idea. So we did that. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do anything. So I was the guy in the bar, literally just hugging the corner with a cup of water. I kept going back and forth to the bartender asking for water. And so spent at least 3 hours, probably 3.5 hours there. He was doing his thing. And we leave. We're both like, okay, we're hungry. Let's go to Denny's. So we go to Denny's. At this time, it was probably 1 in the morning or close to 1. Yeah. Eat our food. We're leaving. I think it was about 2. So we're driving back to his barracks. I'm driving because he had a few drinks. I didn't have any, thankfully. But it was very late, and I was pretty exhausted. So driving back to his barracks, long story short, I was going in and out because I was so tired. And this happened multiple times. I was going in and out, but I was catching myself. We've been there before, and we're kind of sketched out, but we're like, okay, we got this. I can stay awake. Then I go out. The next time I come to, I'm coming up very fast on the end of this semi. And this semi had either come over into my lane because my car had the lane assist on, an Audi. And so I'm driving, I see the semi, I'm coming up very fast on the end of it. The last thing I can remember myself saying is just, oh shit. I try to pull the wheel, and then I just completely black out. So the next time I come to, because I'd been knocked out. First of all, I've never been knocked out in my entire life. So when I come to, I can't open my eyes because I just taken a major blow to the head. So I don't know what's going on, Ron. I don't know what's going on. My head kind of feels numb. I didn't know if I was dreaming, literally. I can't open my eyes. So here I am, actually conscious, eyes closed. First thought is, am I dreaming right now? Literally, I remember myself asking me like that. And then the pain lingers a little bit too long for my liking. So I'm like, okay, this is actually starting to hurt. Then I remember what just happened. And I'm like, did I really just get in a car accident? I've never been in a car accident like that. Never. Then I hear Tyler taking off his jacket, apparently, and he's telling me to apply pressure like a good Marine. He handed me his jacket because apparently I was bleeding down my face. So I take it with my eyes closed. I'm taking his jacket, and he puts it on my face. I hold it there. I don't even think I'm speaking because I can't even get my words together. I'm just holding. And the good part is, good and bad, The only part of my body that took damage was my face.
Mm.
When I came up on the semi, of course, the back gate of a semi is higher off the ground.
Yep.
And so when I drove into it, it folded not only the windshield back, but some of the hood. It just completely knocked the hood back. I took a blow to the head.
Wow.
And so the rest of my body's fine. So I'm using my hand to just hold the jacket here so I don't bleed out. And however long this goes on, he had called 911. I hear the ambulance come in the fire truck, whatever it was. I still can't open my eyes, but I hear them arrive. And they're trying to get the door open, but they can't. It was stuck. So they had to power saw it open. They pull me out, put me on the stretcher, and take me away. I think I had passed out in the stretcher because I don't remember any of that. Probably some of the adrenaline going down. I just passed out. And then I wake up in the hospital in the ICU under the lights, getting worked on, already getting stitched up and getting my blood taken and things like this. And yeah, that's how it all happened. I spent 4 days in the ICU. I was sent home, and I had 14 days to not do anything aside from simply walking. If I wanted to be active, it's just walking, getting my body active. But after that 14th day, the next day I was right back in the gym. And being smart, of course, warming up with just body weight, not doing anything crazy, because I had obviously a concussion. I had 6 facial fractures. I had to have so many sutures to stitch my face back up. Thankfully, there were some very good surgeons working that night. So I had excellent workers working on me. And so, yeah, you can hardly see the scars anymore, but the damage was to the left side of my face. So there's a scar on my eyebrow, going down my nose, on my upper lip here. Even some of my inner mouth was torn. So they had to put things back together.
Yeah, they did great work. Really, because I would never. Maybe if I was like right up close, I could see the scars, but you can't tell anything ever happened to your face.
Now these days, yes, I kind of like the scars though. I will be honest.
Chicks dig scars. Oh,
yeah.
Man. All right, switching gears again. So Gold's Venice used to be, well, it's still called the Mecca, but at one time, like I trained there in the early to mid '90s, and everybody was there. It was like walking into a bodybuilding magazine. All the stars. It's kind of like a few last Mohicans there. I see like Michael Hearn, I see you, and maybe a handful of other really great hardcore bodybuilders training there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it's almost like a responsibility to keep that spirit alive? Because all I ever hear is, that place isn't what it used to be.
I definitely feel a responsibility to do what I can to keep the culture going, to carry the torch. I'm always told that back then it was way better walking in and seeing all the pros and this and that. And I wish I could go back, Ron. Oh my God. These days, obviously, the ownership has changed in the gym. It's become more corporate. You can't even take your shirt off if you're not. So Gold Gym Venice has something called a content creator list, which I am on. I just recently got on. But if you're not on this list, Ron, you cannot use a tripod to film. You can't take your shirt off without being told. You can't do that. You can't use a professional camera either.
Wow.
So upon getting on this list, I'm able to do all that now. So collaborating with these other big guys is actually awesome because I get to capture it, get it on film, document it, practice posing with them in the iconic area on the wall where the mirror is next to the gate.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely there are a few like Mike O'Hearn, Breon sometimes. I remember Phil Heath came in. I've spoken to him a few times. But other than that, I've seen Kai Green in there. Yeah. But at most, you'll probably see 1 to 2 pros tops in there, or at least known pros tops in there training. It's definitely not like it used to be. But I'm doing what I can to keep it classic, obviously, to carry that from watching the movies Pumping Iron and all the Generation Irons. Give me a lot of motivation, and I'm doing what I can, just following in their footsteps.
Yeah, we used to call that, it's the first room, we called it. The very back of the first room by the gates that open up. They didn't have the outdoor workout area back then. But we called it the magic mirror.
Yes.
Because if you were getting ready for a show, everybody would pose there, and you could still see the old like Road to Olympia, Battle for Olympia videos. There's always footage of guys posing, and there'll be Cormier and a few other guys behind him like, I'm glad that that's still there because that was an iconic spot there.
What I'm told is there's that mirror there on the wall is the last like authentic piece of the gym left.
Wow. Wow.
Or at least, no, I won't say that because they still have some
Original?
of the old school machines.
Okay.
But as far as the mirrors there,
Yeah.
there's the big old mirror on that wall.
Yep.
To the right of it, there's a small like rectangular mirror that just continues off of that mirror. And that mirror specifically is the last like old school mirror in there.
Wow. Crazy.
But that
So
whole wall is taking selfies there and practicing posing is
yeah.
hits every time.
Yeah, the natural light. You cannot beat natural light at the right angle at the right time of day. It's just perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
You wrote on you posted the Instagram a couple days ago. You've been training fasted and you enjoy it, which blows my mind. You said even legs, because I cannot comprehend doing anything, but especially like a leg day fasted. How did you start getting that, and how did it take some adjustment?
I was just like you, Ron. I was just like you and thinking I'm never going to train without some meals in my stomach.
Right.
I was doing that for the longest because it's what I was used to. Then it got to a point where I was just eating a lot more because these days, not only do I have a lot more muscle mass than I used to, I'm trying to continue to lean bulk and ultimately jump on another prep pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just eating a lot more, and the meals are usually bigger in proportion. So in portions. And I started training with Joseph Baena.
Oh, that's right.
And he trains.
Hold on, we got not everyone's going to know who that's Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, everybody. Joseph.
It is, yes.
Okay.
So me and him, we're good friends, and we train quite often. And I remember initially training with him, he would tell me he trains fasted. And I never had the thought in my mind to do that. I didn't like the idea. I loved having a meal in my stomach. I had more energy. And obviously I would have a meal, probably wait in between maybe an hour, let it digest, and then hit the gym. But train with him enough times to actually try it out. Just one day I was like, you know what? Let me just go in here. It's probably one of those mornings where I didn't wake up early enough to actually get a meal, but I knew I had to train with him. So I was like, screw it. Screw the meal. I'm going. I can't leave him hanging. So I go and I train fasted. It wasn't bad, Ron. It wasn't bad. Because the thing is, I eat very late. Almost, I'll have my last meal, then I'll go to sleep probably 10 or 15 minutes later. So in my mind, I'm waking up still with some energy storage left to expel. And when I go in the gym and I train fasted, especially on leg day, I don't like having anything in my stomach, even if it's a liquid, just because you're doing things like squats, hack squats, lunges. And if I'm doing a full body movement like that, up and down, I'm mixing stuff up in my stomach and I'll ultimately get nauseous. That's the feeling I don't like. So when I train fasted, specifically legs the other day, it helps me not knowing, or at least it helps me knowing that there's nothing in my stomach. I can really just be more explosive with my performance in the gym throughout the leg movements. Yeah. And it feels good. I mean, I go straight into obviously the post-workout meal right after that. A lot of times I wake up early. Whenever I wake up and I won't be hungry. So I think that's another big thing when it comes to why I train fasted sometimes. When I wake up these days, I wake up, it takes me about 30 minutes to an hour to get hungry, to really feel that burning sensation in my stomach to where I'm like, okay, I need to eat. So if I get up and go straight to the gym, I'm working with that. Like I'm following the traction going up into building an appetite as I'm training, so that by the time I'm done training, my body's ready to consume. And then when I do consume, the muscles will absorb.
Do you do anything during the workout, like the MuscleTech EAAs, anything like that?
Yes, yeah. Those platinum EAAs are amazing during training. I love them. I just recently started doing that.
Yeah, they're delicious. Which there's only it's grape and fruit punch. So are you a grape or a fruit punch guy?
I'm a grape guy.
Okay, fair enough.
What about you?
I like the fruit punch. But,
oh yeah,
yeah. I had the grape, and then I tried the fruit punch. I'm like, nope, grape fruit punch it is.
Wow.
I can drink them. I can either one. They're both good. They're both delicious.
They're both great.
Yeah. So let's talk about MuscleTech. How did you become part of Team MuscleTech? How long ago was it? How did it come about?
I believe it was August of 2022.
Okay.
Yeah. They reached out to me initially on Instagram because at the time, the Marine I mentioned, Tyler, he was with MuscleTech. So we had spoken about MuscleTech that night when we were hanging out. And at the time, MuscleTech was already following me and showing engagement. They were liking and commenting on my posts. So first of all, I had already tried MuscleTech so many years prior, their creatine, platinum creatine. I'd taken that, I think, right after I graduated high school. So I already knew about MuscleTech. I already tried their creatine and I loved it. It gave me good results. So I already had a positive outlook on the brand already. So then fast forward, I'm talking to Tyler about MuscleTech. He's telling me how great they are working with them. And I'm like, man, I would love to be with them. They seem like a great brand. They're well respected in the industry. They've been running for so long and they're still prominent today. And so I told him that, and he said he'll put in a good word for me, which he did, thank God, to Tyler. The next morning, I wake up and I have a DM from them saying, hey, we were talking to Tyler about you. What would it take to get you on our team? So
nice.
That happened. And obviously I was filled with excitement. And after a few weeks probably of talking things over, we locked it in. And I began my partnership with MuscleTech. I've been with them since August 2022, and I'm still with them today, and I'll be with them for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, you're a perfect fit for the brand, I think. I mean, good looking dude, awesome physique, and you're young enough, you know how to work the social media, you know how to do all the right posts and stuff. But tell me, what products do you use on a daily basis? Which ones do you really depend on?
I take fish oil every day, just to keep my joints healthy and cognitive function, things like that. Yep. With all the heavy training that I'm doing, I feel like it's definitely a necessity. Aside from fish oil, I'm taking my multivitamin to get my daily minerals. Yep. I'm taking creatine every day, whether it's the capsules or the creatine chews. I just got some fillings done for my teeth, so I can't handle the chews right now until that sensitivity goes away. But I'm taking down those capsules after every workout. I love the new limited edition Dulce de Leche protein. Love that. If I'm not taking the Dulce de Leche Nitrotech, I'm taking isolate whey protein, vanilla. Either one of those, and I like to cycle between them. I think the vanilla isolate whey has such a deep, sweet flavor. Not too sweet, but it's just, there's something different about it. And the fact that it's isolate and super pure, it lets me know that my body's going to directly absorb it, and it has other things like BCAAs in it, EAAs. So it's overall such a unique blend, and it tastes great. Aside from the proteins, I'm also having my euphoric pre-workout during every training session. Yeah. I love the Boogeyman one. The beta alanine. It gives me the scratchy face.
Boogeyman Punch, everybody. That's the signature flavor of euphoric by Blessing of Odiboo.
Yeah, shout out to Blessing.
Yeah, good stuff, and man.
What else? I'm taking hold on, let me 1 second. I'm literally right next to my creatine cabinet.
Oh, right on.
What's that cabinet here? Clear Muscle.
Clear Muscle, the HM, that's the free HMB.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good old beta tour.
Good stuff in
Keeps
there.
the muscle on and holds back that muscle breakdown. I think ultimately that's my whole lineup right there.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I'll experiment here and there. If I have any other products, I want to try maybe like a different pre-workout just to see how it feels, or Hydroxy Cut, or any of the natural test boosters like Test HD or Alpha Test Thermo, things like that.
If you have not you tried Dulce de Leche, obviously, but if you can get your hands on the churro flavor, that's worth trying too. That's delicious as well.
I've tried the churros flavor, but I think it doesn't hit the same. Just like how you're a fruit punch EAA guy.
Yeah. We all like what we like. So I guess final question. I know you're doing acting and all this other stuff, but as far as competing, you've got the biggest title in natural bodybuilding right now, the Musclemania World Championship. So what next? Are you just going to defend that, or is there another level that you aspire to?
So there are other pro shows that I want to do. Right now, in my fitness career as well as my social media career, I feel it's best to focus on building the brand, and not only building that not nationwide in US, but also going outside of the US, which I've never been. So in Musclemania, there are so many shows abroad, so many. One of the shows I'll be doing this year is the Dubai show.
Oh, wow.
That'll be in September.
Wow.
Then I'll be doing the America again. That was the initial show where I became a pro. So the America show, this time around, I'll be competing against the other pros.
Yeah.
So that not only is am I going to be competing against the other pros? So it'll be more of a battle, which is what I always love, because that brings the best out of me. But the America show specifically in Musclemania is one that is, it has a lot of engagement. A lot of competitors come around and want to get to Hollywood to battle in this America show. So I think it'll be awesome. Then in India in December, outside of the American audience on my social media page, India is the second highest.
Yeah.
So that industry over there, that audience is something I should definitely capitalize on. Like I said, I've never been abroad outside of America. So it'll be a completely unique experience for me.
Yeah.
And yes, 3 shows. As of right now, 3 shows. And they're always bigger and better later in the year.
Right.
Because specifically in NPC, everyone's trying to get that national qualification, and all those elite shows like the Excalibur or anything like that usually happen at the end. So in a sense, in general, the heavier hitter shows where everyone shows up and everyone shows out are always later in the year.
Yeah. I mean, even the NPC Nationals now, they're like in December. It's always been like November, December. So yeah, it's always been, even going back many years, the Olympia was always like toward the end of the season, toward the end of the year. But yeah, I actually asked you before we started recording, are you in prep now? Because you stay so lean, which obviously would make it not easy. Prep's not easy for anybody, but it would make it easier where you're not blowing up like a blowfish with 40 pounds, 50 pounds to lose like a lot of guys do.
Right. I definitely, well, so that's a good point you bring up, Ron. So in Musclemania, and I'm assuming in natural realm in general, you don't need to chase that super lean look, because for one, going that lean will ultimately make you lose some size. Secondly, in the natural realm, that's not considered a natural look, is what I'm told by the higher ups in the federation. So ultimately, you have less stress on your back when it comes to dialing down. You can come in fuller, a little bit bigger because you're not as lean, and it's ultimately still going to play in your best benefit. They advise bringing, literally just come looking your best, is what I was told by the judges. And so my last show, the Musclemania Universe in Miami, I was less lean than I was at the America show. However, I was still looking excellent. My posing was great. The conditioning was great. And I ended up winning. So it still played in my cards. And I'm glad that that is a thing in Musclemania specifically. It takes the stress off of my back, because doing so much cardio, it doesn't make sense if it's bodybuilding.
Yeah.
If it's all bodybuilding, why are you losing all that work you just put in to cut it all down to step on stage? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I love that about Musclemania. Not only that, you get 30 seconds more in your posing routine than you get in NPC. And for me, being a classic bodybuilder, that's amazing, because the routine, the individual routine, is where you shine.
Right. Well, I like to see people that put the time and effort into having a really good routine. Like Breon's someone who always does that, because it just adds another level. It really displays physique as a piece of art. Whereas some of these guys, they come out and they hit 3 poses over and over again. They walk from one end of the stage to the other, and if you have to do this for applause, no. If you have to ask for people to cheer for you, you've already failed. I'm sorry.
I haven't heard that one before. Let me tell you something about Breon real quick, since you brought him up. The other day when we were training, we finished training back. We go up to the posing room, and the whole time I see Breon as like my sensei. So I'm always absorbing knowledge from him and just asking him questions, picking his brain. I'm like, you mind if I go up there and just watch you pose? Because right now he's getting ready for the Arnold. At the time, he was 9 days out. So I'm like, you mind if I go up there and just sit in and watch you pose? He's like, of course not. So I go up there. I'm watching him pose, and he had some other guy who was getting ready for the Arnold too, and he was helping him with posing. But we're talking about routines. And he ends up saying that all the routines he's done on stage, on the Olympia stage, were freestyle.
Oh my goodness.
And I was completely blown away. He said he just gets up there and he just poses. He just feels it and he poses. I don't know if that is all of his routines that were up there, but I'm willing to bet it's a few, especially last year.
Yeah.
So in my mind,
Wow.
You know how good of a poser you have to be. I've heard of other bodybuilders from the golden era or back then who would do the same thing.
Kevin Leveroni did that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's incredible that to have that kind of experience and that kind of fluidity.
Right.
To go up there, and his routines literally look like they've been practiced
I had no idea.
dozens of times where he just mastered and nailed everything. Even the way he begins his routine on his tippy toes, and he'll be like,
yeah.
He's telling me that's freestyling. That's incredible.
Wow. Gosh, I had no idea. Well, next time I talk to him, I have to give him a little extra for that one.
Yes.
He had me going. I thought he'd been practicing the crap out of those routines.
Yeah.
So anyway, man, you've been very generous with your time, Josh. Getting ready. I wish you the best in these shows coming up with the acting, of course. That's always another level, another dream for almost all bodybuilders. And keep doing what you're doing, man. You're really representing the MuscleTech family and the brand so very well out there. Wish you nothing but continued success, Josh.
Likewise. What do you have going on for the rest of the day, Ron?
I got to go to the dentist soon. That's never a fun time, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I hope you enjoy your day as well. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's been a pleasure.
And everybody, thanks for watching. Please follow him on Instagram at, I've got it written down the right way, Joshua J. Blaze, Blaize. We'll put it in the description too. Give him another follow. He's almost at 250,000. Just needs a little bit more to get there. And that's it. Thanks, guys, for watching MuscleTech Uncensored with Josh Manoi. We'll see you next time.